to make a presentation on the subject entrepreneurship and business management. Just a little profile of myself. I am a graduate from the University of Benin, over 10 years. There I did my business BSc in business administration and MSc in human resource management. I've had several other certifications when it comes to management, project management. I've had the privilege of working with reputable organizations, the likes of the Bank of Industry and some other financial institutions that work directly with business financing, business management, management consultations, and providing support services for businesses.
Hello, Mr. Eric.
It's my pleasure to be with you guys here to make this presentation on the subject entrepreneurship and business management. For today, we would run through entrepreneurship and some important concepts around it. And next week, because from the schedule, it's going to be a 3-week interaction with you. Today, we would do a lot of discussions. Next week, we'll do some discussions and the practical aspect of business plan. And the upper week will wrap up on the whole material. The subject of entrepreneurship and business management is key to the survival of any economy. So it is very important that somebody is saying, okay, is it echoing? Somebody is notifying me of an echo. So is it a general issue or is it just your own network? Please confirm. I'd like to be sure that everybody and no one is having a difficulty hearing what I'm saying. Someone just indicated that my words are echoing. Please confirm. Okay, if no response, maybe the friend who just indicated should check his network or device. But if it's a general problem, please kindly indicate. Let's see where the problem is coming from. So like I said, entrepreneurship and business management is key to the survival of any economy. No country or economy can survive without entrepreneurship. And it is best that at this level, I want to presume that the majority or the most of the attendees here are persons who are either recently graduated or persons who have who are new entrants into entrepreneurship or business management. So it's good that at this level we get to understand the importance and the network involved in establishing a business and managing it. Because like we have come to realize in our economy in Nigeria, no matter where we have graduated from, no matter the course of study we have chosen, it is relevant that we have good knowledge, good knowledge of entrepreneurship and business management. There is the business element of every profession. There is the business element of every profession. So whether you are a doctor, whether you are a mechanical engineer, whether you are a pharmacist, whether you are um, a nurse, whenever you choose to establish a business in your profession, it is important that you know and understand the business element of that business. If you wish to start a business, a private business, a private personal business of your own, it is good that you have basic knowledge of entrepreneurship and business management to help you navigate the process of starting the business and running it. It's not enough to start a business. It's not enough to start a business. Everybody wishes to start a business that will continue in perpetuity. So if you don't take the right steps or start with the right knowledge, there's the likelihood that we would have problems in the course of running our business. So which is why such training and interactions becomes very important. And I appreciate the fact that we have all availed ourselves to participate in this training. It's going to benefit you whether you are intending to start a business, whether you are started a business already. The knowledge you are going to acquire or get from such interactions will certainly benefit you. So let's move on. Um, okay. Can we get confirmation from others if what I'm saying is echoing? Because I'm getting a recurring report from a particular person that there is echo from my end. Is that the same for everybody? Please, we appreciate confirmation. Okay. So someone else is confirming no. So please, okay. I'm getting a number of confirmations that there are no echoes from the other end. So Mr. Unilever, Leveler, please confirm. Mr. Leveler, please confirm from your end if it's your device or network. All right. I know we are not, all of us here are not entirely novice when it comes to entrepreneurship. We may have the basic knowledge of entrepreneurship. Some of us here may have even studied entrepreneurship. So we are not going to discuss it as though you have zero knowledge before now. Some of us may even have more in-depth knowledge of entrepreneurship. So, but generally speaking, entrepreneurship is a process of organizing, managing, and assuming the risk rewards of a business or enterprise. So, a simple message beyond this is that entrepreneurship involves organizing. You need to organize resources, you need to organize manpower, you need to organize um, physical or also material assets in order to establish a business. To become an entrepreneur, you are assuming a position of organizing. It is your responsibility to bring together a viable business idea, to organize resources, that will help you either in the production of goods or services, then manage the process of the production of the goods or services. Then, as we would all know, every business establishment comes with a level of risk. At the point of starting a business, it's usually a 50-50 thing. It could work or could not work. That is the reality of entrepreneurship or business. That is why when it comes to taking risk, it's always advised that we take calculated risk. We're going to talk about this more as we proceed. But when we take calculated risk, okay, thank you for confirming, Mr. Leveler. Okay, he has confirmed that the echo is from his end. All right, we appreciate your response. Thank you so much. So this little summary of entrepreneurship on your screen can give you an insight into what is involved in being an entrepreneur or in practicing entrepreneurship. You have the core responsibility of organizing resources. Once you develop a business idea that you wish to invest in, you have a lot to do in organizing resources. You have a lot to do in managing those resources. You have a lot to do in risk management, because you want to be careful the kind of business you go into, and ensuring that whatever risk you are taking, it's worth it. You don't want to take blind risk when it comes to business. Then entrepreneurship comes with its rewards. Entrepreneurship comes with its reward. When you take your risk, a well calculated risk, then you eventually get the rewards that comes with entrepreneurship. Profits, increase in assets, larger or increasing market share, and the rest. There are many benefits or rewards that comes with entrepreneurship. We are going to see how much of it we can talk as we proceed. All right. Please, along the line, if you wish to ask a question, indicate by raising up your hands. If it would allow us to hear you and get your question. And please, I always prefer an interactive section. I always prefer an interactive session because I believe that nobody is an epitome of knowledge. Nobody is an island of knowledge. As much as I may have one or two things to share with you in this section, I also believe I can get one or two things from you to add to my bank of knowledge. So at some point in time in the interaction or in the section, I would also like to invite you to make some contribution. So if you have a question, if there are areas not cleared, please feel free to indicate, and I will be happy to hear from you. So from a layman's perspective, I don't know. Let me throw the ball. Let me throw the ball back to the group. If you are told to explain in your own term what entrepreneurship is, how would you explain it? Different people have their different explanation to entrepreneurship. Most people see entrepreneurship as an opportunity to pursue the dream of working for themselves. In fact, that is the one reason why the most people admire entrepreneurship. Everybody likes to be a boss of himself, for himself, and the idea of yes sir, having your employer control your time, control your movement, control your resources, and control your affairs, it's mind-boggling for some. So individual preference comes in here. And some individuals don't mind. They don't mind doing the yes sir thing. They are ready to do it all the way. But some other people, they have a dream, or the big dream of working for themselves, answering yes sir to no one, and then pursuing their dreams of becoming. So that drives a lot of people to want to toe the path of entrepreneurship. And some persons, they want entrepreneurship because of the money. They feel that they have a chance of making more money when they set up their own business, they manage, and they can easily define their growth path. When you work for other people, the company where you work for defines your growth path. But when you work for yourself, you have almost 100% control of your growth. And that is what drives some to want to toe the path of entrepreneurship. So everyone, for their reasons, have why they want to go into entrepreneurship. I don't know if I would like to welcome interactions at this point in time. For the friends who are here present, why would you want to, aside from the reason just mentioned or highlighted, why would you want to the path of entrepreneurship? You could either unmute and comment, or you drop a comment on the chat box. Why would you want to toe the path of entrepreneurship? I want to be sure that everyone here present is present because they are interested in entrepreneurship. So if you are interested, if you have the opportunity to set up and establish a personal business of your own, and you wouldn't mind going after such opportunity, why would you want to pursue the course of entrepreneurship if you have the opportunity?
I would like to uh, be in entrepreneurship to have my own freedom time
Sorry,
because
admin, I cannot
when
hear
you are work
the comment
um
from others. I don't know. Is that coming from me, or is there a way you can
is
unmute from the end? Yeah, somebody said it gives enough room for one to showcase their talent. Very good. Very good. Someone just dropped a comment, which is very correct. Opportunity for you to explore your talent or skills or abilities. Very good. The friend that is trying to make a vocal, a voice comment. Sorry, I am not getting. I don't know if others can hear you, but I can't hear your comments. That is why um, I'm taking the comments from the chat box. So someone said, Abimbola said, it gives room for one to showcase their talent, which is very highly correct. Anybody want to share their thoughts? All right. So we will, as we proceed, we're going to look at other details involved in entrepreneurship. And if you have a desire to venture into entrepreneurship, it's important that before you start, you analyze yourself, do a self-evaluation to know why you want to go into entrepreneurship. It is important that you venture into entrepreneurship for the right intent. For the right intent, very important. So ask yourself, why would I want to go into entrepreneurship? Is it because I have the opportunity, I have a talent to showcase, I have the resources to start it, I have an idea, a bankable business idea that I'd like to explore? Sometimes opportunities drives people into entrepreneurship. Opportunities drive people into entrepreneurship. In most cases, opportunity drives people into entrepreneurship. Sometimes you may not have the skill set, but then you may be presented with the opportunity to start up on your own. A gap, you may be helped to see a gap in the system that you can fill either with a product or a service, and it becomes a visible opportunity for you to explore. So from the screen, you can see that entrepreneurship is action oriented. Most people associated with the start of a new business or a venture. It's not enough to have a bankable business idea. Entrepreneurship involves a whole range of actions. If you see the definitions given at the onset, it involves a lot of planning, a lot of managing, a lot of field calculations, and all of that. So it's action oriented. It's action oriented. So you don't be an entrepreneur by sitting in one place. It involves calculating risk. It involves planning. Sometimes when the resources is limited, it involves starting small and growing. The beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is that you can start at any level you wish. You must not start big. A person who is driven, who is business driven, and does not have the resources to start at a large scale, can always start small and grow organically. You grow. So those are beautiful aspects of entrepreneurship, and that is why we say it is action oriented. The key word in this characteristics action, sometimes always moving. Owning a startup most likely means managing it as well as organizing and mitigating against challenges that will come along the way. Starting up a business is not a bed of roses. It comes with a lot of challenges. When you plan, you realize that everything do not always come as planned. So it is important that you create room for challenges. That is where risk management comes in. That is where risk management comes in. There are many unforeseens that comes with entrepreneurship. There are many factors, economic factors, controllable and uncontrollable, that would have to mitigate against in the process of entrepreneurship. So it takes a willed person, a person who is willed to venture into entrepreneurship and make a success out of it. Because you can not always control all the variables involved in entrepreneurship. Take note, you can not always control all the variables involved in entrepreneurship. There are some variables that you can control. There are some variables you cannot control that are beyond your control. So if you are not willed and strong, those uncontrollable variables can take you off balance and even take you out of business. So the management concept of entrepreneurship involves making sure that your business runs smoothly and efficiently, finding a market for your product, meeting the changing demands of your product in the marketplace, having in place the necessary operations to allow your business to operate, and maintaining a productive and efficient workforce. These are some of the variables I'm talking about. Some of these variables you can control. Some of these variables you cannot control. Getting your workforce, sourcing for resources for your business, those are controllable aspects of entrepreneurship. But then you will notice that meeting the changing demands for your product in the marketplace is a variable you cannot control. Somebody may come up with a very good business idea, but then may make a blunder on the location of the business. And once you have a fantastic business idea that is wrongly located, you would have a problem with the demand for your product or services. So at the end of the day, you will end up positioning yourself in a business that you struggle with getting sufficient demand for your product or services that would help you sustain the business. Okay, I'm getting a comment from Joseph. I would like to go into entrepreneurship because I want to be my own boss. Having time for myself and freedom. Working with someone is like a slave that will take your time and freedom. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. We totally agree with you. I'm sure everybody here present agree with your comment. Yes, freedom. Having that freedom to control your time and not allow your time to be controlled by others. It gives some persons that sense of enslavement, which is a fantastic reason why many of us went into business. Personally, I have been opportune to start up a business. I saw it grew over the years and it became very fully established. In management, starting a business is usually likened to raising a child. The process of starting a business and running the business, it's likened to raising a child. There are basically 4 stages in business management. We have the birth stage, we have the growth stage, we have the maturity stage, and we have the decline stage. So it is likened to the life of an average person. And usually that is what is reflected in the life of a business. If you have started a business of your own, you would understand fully what I'm saying. The process of starting a business of your own is like giving birth to a child. And in most cases, at that stage, it is more stressful, more difficult, and more challenging. At that birth stage, you need to give your business more time, more attention. It will sap a lot of your energy physically, mentally. But like a child, when that business grows to a particular level that it can begin to run on its own without your full involvement or presence, then it begins to take less of your energy, less of your time, and you'll be getting more of the returns. I don't know if we understand what I'm saying. So the most difficult part of entrepreneurship is the startup stage, the startup level. That is the most difficult part of entrepreneurship. And that is why it is at that point in time, it is important for you to do what we call a business or visibility plan study, your business plan or visibility study. Because you don't want to get it wrong at that startup stage. If you get it wrong with a child at its early stage, that child may suffer deformities or suffer challenges that would last the lifetime with that child. So if you are starting a business and you get it wrong at the early stage, it may affect the entire lifespan of the business. Okay, at this point, let me take some of the comments. Mr. Rabiulawan, you said, they said build your life, because if you don't, someone will hire you to help them build theirs. That is a very insightful comment, and which is true. The earlier you plan and venture into entrepreneurship, the better it will be for you at the later part of your life, which is why it is good to start nurturing the idea of entrepreneurship now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Even if you have good employment opportunities, it is not advisable to zero out entirely on entrepreneurship. Some persons may have opportunity to get gainful employment. Yes, but then it is not advisable to entirely zero out on entrepreneurship. If you have the opportunity to start one up, don't throw it away. Somebody else said, have time for myself and freedom, working with someone. Okay, we've taken that before. So, Mr. Rabiu, thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate. Keep the comments coming in. I'm seeing them, and we would always take your comments. So, like we said, there is the controllable and uncontrollable part of entrepreneurship. So it's always better that you make proper plans and start on time. We mentioned earlier that entrepreneurship involves calculating the risk. You know, what we are doing is basically a summary of this subject matter. It can take us a whole year. In fact, some persons go to the university and study entrepreneurship as a course. So we can not always, there is no way we can be able to touch every aspect of entrepreneurship in this presentation. We are just getting a scratch here and there. But if you wish to get full detail or discussion or consultation on entrepreneurship, you could discuss with the facilitators of this training. They will be able to help you as a team, and then we can come up with a very beautiful plan to give you a more robust service when it comes to entrepreneurship. But for the sake of this presentation, what we are doing is scratching the subject matter here and there, and see what we can learn from each other. So the subject is a broad one, is a very broad one. So we will see how much of it we can dig into and learn from. So there is always the risk part of entrepreneurship. The risk of survivor. There is the risk of survivor. There is the risk of breaking even. There is the risk of there's a risk of uh, resource wastage. So at the end of the day, if proper planning is not done, we would only but be increasing our risk in whatever business we are venturing into. So before you start a business, it is good that you analyze, do your risk assessment. The business idea, is it visible? The location of the business, is it appropriate? Do I have the market for the business? Do I have sources of raw materials? How do I get access to the target market that would be interested in the product or services that I'm presenting? So the business you are trying to set up, what's the value proposition? There's something we call value proposition. People will only pay for value. If you're offering a product or a service, people will only pay for it if they see that product or service as something of value to them. If that product or service you are proposing as an entrepreneur does not fill a need gap, for the target market, there's a high chances that the business will not last for long. So entrepreneurship must be hinged on value proposition as against a target market. So those are the things you look at, you assess carefully before venturing into business. There is risk involved in every business, and all risk should be calculated. It is not advisable to take blind risk in business. I repeat, it is not advisable to take blind risk. Professionally in management, we advise that people take calculated risk. And so when we say calculated risk that you have assessed and you have valid basis to be sure that it will have little or no impact in the business. So it is not advisable to start up a business and eventually get to see that the business you started is not viable before you start doing what we call damage control. If you don't do your risk assessment properly, you would end up doing what we call damage control. That is if the business do not fold up almost immediately, because there are certain aspects of the business that we said before that you cannot control. So if you don't do proper planning, that blind spot, now let's also call it blind spot. Those blind spots you have in business can become a problem for you. So we want to take our time to do risk assessment. If you want to get more knowledge when it comes to risk assessment in business, you could always consult us back end, and we will furnish you with a lot more information on that. So at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, as an entrepreneur, if you don't prepare yourself for the risk, you may get unexpected surprises from the market. So at the end of the day, you must, as an entrepreneur, take responsibilities for your decisions. Whether the business succeeds tomorrow or fails tomorrow, every entrepreneur must have a sense of responsibility. So it is your decisions that will eventually bring about a successful business for yourself, or a failure, as the case may be, for the business. So that is why you would have nobody else to blame if anything goes wrong with your business. If you start well, you enjoy the benefit. If you overlook the risk and the business begins to have issue or faults up, then you would also have to deal with it. So that is why it is important that the more planning you do, the more you can minimize and increase the likelihood of success. So that is why this aspect of the training would later on focus on business planning. The aspects involved in business planning. We today is just the talking aspect of the whole section. By next week, hopefully, we will look at the practical aspect of business planning. What is involved in business planning? We will take practical case studies. In fact, if you have a business idea that you would love to invest in, you could share your business idea, and we would take up a structure. We'll take up a business a structure for a proper business plan, and we'll run your business through it for you to see whether the business is viable or not. Remember, a lot is involved in planning for a business. A lot is involved. In fact, just even preparing a business plan or a feasibility study takes a lot. Much more is involved in putting that business plan into reality. And so a lot is involved, and then we hope that we can achieve a lot together in this 3 weeks period we have together. All right. What are some of the challenges with starting up a business? One of the challenges is, which is the greatest challenge for us in this part of the world, in Nigeria, to be specific, one of the greatest challenge we have is financing. Everybody, there is nobody that do not have a business idea. Everybody practically have one business idea or the other. But the reason why everybody is not in business is because they don't have the funding or the financing for their business idea. So if you see a person who does not have a business today, it's not because he does not have a business idea. From studies in Nigeria, the most challenging thing about going or venturing into entrepreneurship is finance. And which is why financial institutions are established to help reduce the challenges of financing in entrepreneurship. Even with the presence of financial institutions, from microfinance bank to commercial banks to the Bank of Industry to specialized banks, all aimed at supporting SMEs in starting and funding ongoing businesses. We still see that businesses today still have problem with financing. We have a lot of banks, financial institutions that are available. They will tell you they are ready to give you loans if you wish. But sometimes when you see the criteria involved in assessing those loans, you become discouraged. So financing is always a challenge when it comes to funding. But then that is another aspect of back end service that we can also provide for you. Because of our exposures in the finance industry, we have opportunity to assist businesses who would like to access funding for their businesses. Like I mentioned before, I've been opportune to work with financial institutions from the Bank of Industry to commercial banks, to microfinance banks, to other banks who are specialized in providing such fundings for. So we understand in details what is involved in accessing funds from these financial institutions. And we'll be happy to provide such back-end services for those who have ongoing business they would like to fund, or they have viable business ideas that needs funding to get started with. So it takes money to start and maintain business, whether personal operations or larger operations. At any level of business, you cannot start up without funding. So funding is an important part of entrepreneurship, and it's a critical part of any business plan you are making, which you are going to see as we continue. So that's why it is important to plan for your business. Sometimes when it comes to financing your business, it is good that you make the right choices of the best source of financing there is sources. You can raise funds from savings, personal savings, from cooperatives. You can raise funds, like we said, from financial institutions. But it is important that we understand the best source of fund to access at the different levels of our businesses. I repeat, it is important that we understand the best source of fund to access for the different levels of our businesses. Sometimes for startups, we see situations where startup businesses may want to access funds from microfinance bank or from commercial banks in starting the business. Nobody would tell you it's not possible. It's possible, but is it viable? Is it visible or advisable to do that? What is the risk position you will be putting yourself if you are starting a business, you are not sure of its survival in the market with borrowed funds from financial institutions? You know, these borrowed funds comes with their conditions, terms and conditions. If you look at the risk of the product or service in a new market, a new product in a new market to be funded by borrowed funds, borrowed capital, you realize that it raises your risk level to a level that you should be concerned about. So all these are what is involved in risk assessment when it comes, or as it is associated with financing. So it is good that when you are choosing a course of business to pursue, you also decide carefully the best source of funds to access in funding that business, whether at a personal level or at a larger level. It is not easy when you are starting a business to get it right when it comes to getting estimations, how much you need to start, what what you need to do, how much exactly you need to do to fund your businesses. That is why if you are doing a business plan or a feasibility study, most of the figures you have in the financial sections are always estimates. They are always estimated figures, because you can hardly really get exact figures of what is needed when it comes to starting a business. Say, for example, you want to get your assets, your asset acquisitions, the machines you need to start up the business, the manpower service you need. In your business plan, what you may factor in there as the cost of your asset may not be exactly what you will get when it comes to the time you want to start a business. So you can hardly get it right, accurate, when it comes to financial estimates in the beginning. The economy is a changing one. The economy goes up and down, the dollar rates. There are many factors that are involved that affect financial estimates. So you make a business plan today, the figures you may have in it, the estimations you may give today may not be what you will get in the market if you want to start it, say, in a month or two time, because figures would have changed. So that's why we always would work with estimate. And when we are into giving financial estimate, it's always advisable that we do what we call margins. You give margins. You give proper margins to keep you on a safe side. To keep you on a safe side. So all of this we would go into when we discuss in details the business plan or feasibility study next week. All right. So we've looked at the risk part of managing a business. A little activity. I don't know if we are ready for this. What are some of the other business risks in starting your own business? So let's get comments now. Like I said, some of us, I would assume that some of us here present are persons who may have started their own business or who have the intention to start their own business. So if you have started your business, what were some of the risk factors you had to mitigate against? And if you are intending to start a business, what are some of the risks you have identified that you think would be a challenge or a problem for you if you would want to start that business? So let's get the comments. Competition, yeah. Lawan said competition. So let's if you have your jotting materials, you could take it down, and if possible, you could do so with your intended business in mind. so that you are able to tailor the subject and the material we are discussing to your personal situation. All of us here may have different business ideas that we want to explore either sooner or later, and you are the one that knows all the knowledge and factors around that business idea. So it is our hope that we are able to use the knowledge we are sharing to help you scale through whatever risk or challenges that may come in starting up that your personal business. So as we are discussing aspects like this, we would like you to tailor the knowledge we are sharing to that personal business you have in mind. So somebody has said one of the potential risks of starting a business.
Absolutely.
Competition.
That is sweet. Very, very sweet.
Competition. That is the risk. Yeah. The risk of competition. Somebody said location. Location presents risk. Competition presents risk. Very good. Very good. Can we get more? Competition presents risk. Location presents risk. Okay, while we wait for others to share their thoughts, how do we minimize this identified risk? How do we minimize the risk of competition? Okay, product price. Okay, we see others coming. Fear of failing. Fear of failing. Okay, so I think we have 4 now identified. I really want to appreciate the response from the house. So we have competition, we have location, we have fear of failing. Okay. We have product pricing. Product pricing. All right. Let's work with these 4 we have. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Joseph, Mr. Lawan, and the others who brought in their comment. How do we minimize the risk of competition? The risk that comes with competition. I want to assume that we have given this, we have mentioned this risk because it is associated with either with the business we are doing right now or with the business we intend to do. Only very few businesses exist in Nigeria that doesn't have competition. Only very few businesses, if at all, there are businesses in Nigeria that have no competition. Once upon a time, Dangote Cement operated without competition. But right now, more recently, we have seen competition come into that industry, and the competition is intensifying. Sometimes you could merge competition with location. In marketing, if I were to bring in a marketing knowledge into risk management, we are looking at ways to minimize. We cannot usually, in an ideal case, all things being equal, it's difficult to eliminate the risk of entrepreneurship. So you only look at how you minimize it. You can't take away other competitors from the market. You can't stop a person from joining you in a business. If you start up a business today, you can't tell somebody else, say, I'm the first to join this business, so don't come and join me. Don't start. It's the principle in the market is free entry and free exit. There's a general principle of free entry and free exit. everybody is free to enter into any kind of business he wishes, and anybody is free to exit the business whenever he or she chooses to do so. So if you start up a business today, you can't stop others from joining you and competing with you in that line of business. But then, how do you minimize the risk of having more competitors with you in the market that will not lead to your being driven from the market? Because if you don't manage the risk properly, you may just find yourself start the business and you go out. I was trying to bring in a marketing concept into risk management. There is the marketing strategy we know of new product and market. If you are starting a business, it's either you are bringing a new product into a new market or an old product into a new market or a new product into a new market or an old product into an old market. That is one marketing grid we discuss when doing market analysis. We can discuss that in detail when we are doing the business plan. In fact, it's a whole section of a business plan. The marketing is part of a business plan. So you look at yourself, or you look at the business you want to start up. Am I introducing a new product into a new market? When we say a new market, a market where the product you are introducing does not exist before. It could be an identified location. It could be an identified location. It could be a category of people. When we say a market is not necessarily a physical location where people buy and sell. In business, a market also involves a targeted set of people that you intend to service with your product or your service. An identified group of people that you intend to supply your product or your service for a return. So when you are looking at the new product you want to bring into the market, or the new service or the new business idea, so when you're doing risk assessment, this is my new product I'm bringing up to the market. Does it exist in the market before? Sometimes the market may be based on the location. Your product may not be new in itself, but may be new in that location. So in that case, you are bringing an existing product into a new market, a market that has not received such a product or service before. Sometimes it may be an existing market, but then you identified a need of the market. You are able to identify a need that, okay, there is this need gap in the market. There is something that people in this market would appreciate that they don't have at the moment. So as an entrepreneur, you come up with resources, you put resources together to produce or provide a product or service that solves that problem or fills that need gap in the market. So if you are starting a business, you should be able to define clearly and establish if that product or service you are introducing to the market is a new product to an existing market. So once you're able to do such analysis, you can easily tell that your business is going to strive. The risk of survival is very minimal when you are able to minimize competition. So it is not enough to just have a business idea and have resources to start. It is also good that you look into the location of the business. Some persons, they like starting a business that other persons are doing. You see somebody, your neighbor, who starts a provision shop, a laundry, an hairdressing salon. Because you just see that the person started his own, you just say, I will go and start my own too. And you go and start. Such businesses usually would face a lot of challenges. So if you have the resources to start that same kind of business, why not look for a location that does not have that or similar business and start there? That will minimize your risk of survival. That will reduce a lot of business risk for you. Rather than force yourself in a location where you have intense or what we call stiff competition. So when you are starting a business, you must carefully detail all of this to be sure that you dot the I's and cross the T's and don't get any part of it wrong. Somebody mentioned pricing. Yes, pricing is another part that comes with its own risk. When you are pricing your product or you're pricing your services, there are many factors you put into consideration: the cost of production, the competing prices, the competing price, and all of that. You look into many factors before you narrow down to what should be an appropriate price for your product. And at the end of the day, you must put your pricing or peg your price at a level that will allow you break even. At least break even. You're able to retrieve your cost of production and gives you room for little margins, profit margins. So if you are pricing your product or pricing your service, you must be careful to look at all of these other factors to help you come up with a very even more competing prices. You can look into your production process, the cost of production, your source of materials. Are there cheaper ways to get materials for your production or for your service? Are there ways you could reduce the cost of production so that at the end of the day, even when you decide to sell below the market price, you will still make enough margin that would help you take care of the whole process, the business process. You can pay your staffs, you can cover for your raw materials and still make profit. Because remember, we said it is advisable to start your business small, then grow organically. But if your business will grow organically, it's expected that you try to make little profit margins. Then in business, there's what we call the plough back profit, as against taking loans from the bank. So some persons have different attitudes to loans. Some, like in finance, we call it there are three attitudes to loans. Some are risk lovers, some are risk averse, some are risk neutrals. Some business owners, they don't like taking risk. Those kind of persons will not go for loans. If it is 1,000 naira they have, 10,000 naira they have, 50,000 naira they have, 1 million naira they have, they would rather start with that their own money than go and take a loan. Those are risk averse. They don't take risk in business. So If the profit is making one naira, if the business is making one naira every day, they will be using that one naira and putting it back in the business, and business will be growing. That small. They are okay with that. Some other persons, they like taking risk. They, even when they are not sure of the market, they would not mind taking a 10 million, 20 million naira loan to fund the business. And yours truly, if they take that loan and the business actually hits the market and makes it out successful, what they would make in a very short time is usually way more than what that risk averse entrepreneur would make in many years. What that risk averse will make in 10 years, a risk lover will make in 1 year or 2 years. But the general finance principle is the higher the risk, the higher the return. That is the general finance principle. The higher the risk you are willing to take or you take in business, the higher the returns. So if you are a risk taker or a risk lover, you have a higher chances of making massive, larger returns within a short period of time than a risk averser who would rather be contented with that 10 naira, 10 naira, 10 naira, 10 naira, whenever it takes them to make the 1 million from that 10 naira, they are okay with it because they don't want to face the challenge of that comes with taking higher risk. So these are factors you look closely that helps you decide whether you will take loans for fundings and where you will peg your pricing, and then at the end of the day, which it will be best for you in your business. Okay, I have some comments I have not taken. All right, I see your comments, Mr. Joseph. Okay, you said relationship with your customers and always update your customer in time when product price change. I believe that is you are proposing ways to minimize risk when it comes to pricing, not so? I suppose that is what you mean with your comment. Thank you for sharing that thought with us. All right, let's run along. So a lot is involved in entrepreneurship, which involves planning. It is good that we do proper homework before we start any business. Do not rush into entrepreneurship. If you would succeed in entrepreneurship, do not rush into it. Take your time. Make sufficient planning. Make sufficient consultation. Make sufficient consultation. Make sufficient research. Proper research is involved in entrepreneurship if you would make a success out of it. Proper research is involved. Okay, I'm sure we are seeing the screen. I don't know if the material has already been shared with us before the session, but I'm sure that there is an arrangement for all of us to have access to these materials. So you can always have them later and then go through them. Next week, when we convey again, you can ask your questions or try to get additional knowledge on it. But if you have not gotten the material as at now, don't worry. I'm sure that the organizers of this section is going to make plans for all of us to have it. Okay. So all of these are what we have said. Starting your own business presents or comes with challenge, and it comes with the reward. Some of us here have shared some of the rewards that comes with entrepreneurship, which makes it very attractive and appealing. Freedom, you have control over your time, you can control your growth. There are other massive rewards that comes from entrepreneurship, and there is this sense of fulfillment. Entrepreneurship gives individuals sense of accomplishment, sense of fulfillment. You have that feeling that you are making contribution in helping the economy. Honestly, look at the best economies, the largest economies in the world: the US, Canada, Britain, France, Germany. The big economies in the world you know of and you see, they all survive on entrepreneurship. SMEs, they all survive on SMEs. Any country that does not have strong foundation in its SMEs usually don't. And that is the challenge we're having in Nigeria even till date. Why the government is doing its best in giving support to entrepreneurs, they still have a lot of gap to fill, because every economy survives on entrepreneurship. So if you're able to make a success out of your own business, you'll be making your own little quota of contribution in strengthening the economy. If you're able to start up a business and grow it to the point where you begin to employ labor or services, you would have presented yourself as an opportunity to also help or support others. So your business grows, you begin to employ others, you have others on your payroll. So at the end of the day, you are not only helping yourself grow, you're also giving other people the opportunity for them and their families to grow. So it's a beautiful experience if you're able to man up the challenges that come with entrepreneurship and start up one. But the one good big question now is that this is a question for you. It's a question for you. Do I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? Do I have what it takes? This is another aspect of entrepreneurship. Beyond having a beautiful idea, beyond having the resources, beyond seeing the opportunities involved you want to explore, the one good question you also need to ask yourself is, do I personally have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? When we say having what it takes, what do we mean? Do you have the personality? Do you have the skill? Do you have the willingness? Do you have the commitment involved in entrepreneurship? This is very important. This is very important in entrepreneurship. You know, in entrepreneurship, you can hardly separate the business from its owner. In entrepreneurship, you can hardly separate the business from its owner, except when the business have grown to a particular level. Usually at the startup level of any business, it is difficult to separate the business from its owner. So the owner's personalities usually at the start of business rubs off on the business. That is why personality issues, skill issues, commitment issues, the willingness to serve the business comes in entrepreneurship. This is a critical factor, especially at the startup level. We have seen situations where people have fantastic business ideas, but eventually destroy the businesses because of their personalities. I'll give you, okay, you can relate to local personal experiences or examples. If you have two supermarkets, in your estate or in your environment or location where you live, owned by two different persons, you usually would find out that people would more likely patronize a supermarket whose owner has a more appealing personality than the one who does not have. True or false? I need a response. If you have two supermarkets in your locality where you stay, people would most likely patronize the supermarket whose owner has a more appealing personality than the other. That is true. That is true. And it applies to every business. It's so bad. It's so bad that in Nigeria, we are quick to cashing winch. We are quick to cashing people winches in business. You are doing business with somebody, you see, you have clear sight of your competitors, you see them doing very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. I'm seeing your response. So everybody has affirmed that it is true that people will always patronize the person with the more appealing personality. If you have two persons who are doing laundry in your estate or in your environment, and you realize that one is very skilled, he is trained, he is neat and careful with his work, he does it neatly and carefully, and the other just started the laundry because he sees that other people are starting laundry and he had access to 1 million naira or 2 million naira or 3 million naira. He just said, I want to start a business, so I must start my own, and he went into the laundry. Evidently, if you patronize those two people, you will see their work comes out, the difference in their work will come out clearly. You will see that the difference will come out in their work very clearly. The person who does the laundry because he is skilled in it, and the person who does the laundry because he just feels that he has the opportunity, so he wants to go into it. The difference will come out in the final output of the laundry. So that is why this question we are asking becomes very, very relevant. We cannot avoid it. Assess yourself for that business you are desiring to start or that business you have started. Do you have the personality it takes to start the business? Do you have the skill it takes? Why do we talk about commitment in starting a business? Where does commitment comes in when it comes to business? Not everybody can persevere. Let me use that word, persevere. That's why personality issue is critical. Not everybody can persevere. Remember, we said the life of a business is likened to the life of a child. we call it in marketing product lifespan. Every product have a lifespan. So also every business have a lifespan. Product lifespan, business lifespan. And the process is the same for the business lifespan, for the product lifespan. The birth stage, the growth stage, the maturity stage, the death stage. And at that death stage for a product lifespan, that is where you see product companies come up with rebranding. Companies begin to rebrand. Once upon a time, the cowbell we know, the cowbell we know when we were small, it's not the cowbell we know now. Once upon a time, cowbell was the hit milk product in the market. But then the competition became very stiff. The competition became very stiff. And even you have cowbell, we have 3 Crowns, and then yes, and some other milk products. If you notice between that time and now, cowbell, especially 3 Crown, they have done a lot of rebranding and rebranding and rebranding and rebranding so that the product continues to be attractive in the eyes of consumers. When a product gets to that stage where its market share is beginning to drop, it must have to rebrand to come up back to the market and retain its market share. Otherwise, a product can just quietly die off from the market. So when we talk about personality, in relation to entrepreneurship, if a person does not have some qualities like perseverance, the person can hardly survive even the birth stage of business management or entrepreneurship. We said no entrepreneur or no business is established or started without challenges. Just like a child you give birth to, there are many challenges that comes with nurturing a child at birth stage. You are very careful with the child is tender. Any mistake can cause a lot of problem for you and that child. So you are careful with everything. You are careful with everything with that child. So at the birth stage of a business, it's expected that you are careful with everything. Your decisions you are making must be informed. You make informed decisions. The risk you are taking is calculated. You want to be careful with everything. Because if you get it wrong at the early stage, your business will just even die before it becomes mature. But what do you do as an entrepreneur when you begin to face the challenges that comes with businesses? What do you do when the market do not respond to your product or services as you projected? What do you do when the prices you see in the market is different from what you have projected in your plan? What do you do when customers come in massively as a result of dissatisfaction with the product at the point of introduction into the market? How you would respond as an entrepreneur is very highly based and dependent on your personality. If you're not a person who can persevere or who is willed, if you are not strong-willed, at that point in time, you will just give up and close up in business. So that is why we're asking the question again. Ask yourself, do I have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? Some persons are not made, some persons are born entrepreneurs. And there are certain people in the country in certain part of the country that are seen to be good in entrepreneurship. They are generally considered to be good in business. Though in practice, professionally, we don't believe in that. We believe that anybody can succeed in business if he is able to make proper planning. We have successful business from all parts of the country. So being a successful entrepreneur is not dependent on what part of the country you came from. So that is a write-off. Anybody from any part of the country can succeed in business if you have the right skill set, you have the right personality, you have the right business idea, you have the right business plan. You can succeed in business. But personal assessment is important. And sometimes it may require that we go and develop our personalities, develop the personalities that can help you man the business. So first, ask yourself why you want to start a business. Whatever business you are intending to start, ask yourself why you want to start it. If you are starting the business for a wrong purpose, there is a likelihood or a high chance that the business may not survive the test of times. There's a high chance that the business may not survive the test of time. So you want to be honest with yourself. Why am I starting the business? Do I have the personal traits, skills, and commitment involved in starting up a business? I'll tell you a personal experience I had recently. I went to the market with my wife. We were making some purchases, and you know how a typical market looks like. Um, Everybody's busy, the market is choked up, people buying and selling. You see some customers, some business owners trying to woo you to come to their shop. Come and buy from me, come and buy from me. This one is saying, oh, patronize me, Oga, patronize me, madam. They are doing whatever they can to attract people to the business. But I was surprised when um, my wife was trying to buy something from a shop, and okay, my wife was trying to buy something from a shop, and I said, okay, let me stand by to allow her buy, then we can proceed. All of a sudden, a woman who was sitting down in the shop, the shop owner, just shouted at me that I should step aside from in front of her shop. I should move. I should not stand in front of her shop. I should move and go ahead. I was surprised. I was like, wow, I I didn't know I was obstructing. It's a market. I didn't know that there are certain areas I should stand and should not stand. But on a second thought, I looked at the woman and I said, why would you be in a market? Other people are calling on passerbys to patronize them, and you are busy driving people from standing in front of your shop. And when I carefully assessed the woman's shop and assessed every other shop around, I understood why her shop was empty. There was practically nobody she was attending to. While our competing colleagues are busy selling from one person, selling to one person, selling to people, like people are crowding them, she's sitting down there alone in her shop with all her goods there, with nobody patronizing her. And I asked myself, wow, this woman is going to have a tough time selling her product, because I see her not to have the personality it takes to run a business. You cannot be inside a market and you try to boss people around. You end up driving people away from your business. So somehow we become the reason for our own failures. if we don't answer this question correctly, we can unknowingly end up being the reason for our own failures. You see that people are not, it's not because you don't have the product or the services that people want, but people don't just like or wouldn't just like to come around you because they don't find your personality attractive. So if it will involve developing traits that would make your business ideas or business product or services attractive, it is key. It is key to entrepreneurship. Very key to entrepreneurship. So we must look into that. Personally, ask yourself those questions. So it's not enough to get yourself into business because you have the best of ideas or you saw opportunities, you want to grab it. Fine, that is good, but it is also important that you look into the personality aspect of it. So we have a few minutes left. I think at this point in time, let's give opportunity for questions. We can always find we can always get access to the materials, and there's a part of it that gives us an opportunity to do more objective assessment of ourselves, more objective assessment of ourselves, like the one we are seeing on the screen. Am I passionate about my goals? Do I have a spirit of adventure? Do I have a strong need for achievement? Am I self-confident? Am I a self-starter? Am I goal-oriented? These are personal self-assessing questions we need to do for ourselves. So at your personal time, it is good that all of us were able to sit ourselves down and do this assessment. If you don't do it, you would be increasing the risk of starting a business for yourself. The chances of failures will be high, and that is exactly what we would like to avoid for you, which is why we are presenting you with such a program to give you an opportunity where you create a platform for yourself where you can set up your business and the business will succeed. Am I a positive thinker? Am I willing to take initiative? Am I persistent? Remember, I talked about being persevering. Am I persistent? Am I a person that easily gives up? The first challenge you meet with starting up your business, and the next thing you're thinking about is how you want to exit the business. And that will mean that you have a lot to do with your personality traits. You may need to work on your personality traits. Am I creative? Do I know how to think differently? Sometimes the best business ideas do not come from the moon. The best business ideas come from even within the market there. From the regular product you see, from the regular services you get and you see, a creative mind would look at how can I render these same services in a more accessible, more packaged, more convenient manner to the consumers or to the market. For the same product you see in the market, for the same service you see, a creative mind will look at, is there a cheaper way I can get this same product available and make more margins for the consumers? Is there a better way I can offer this product or services to the consumers more conveniently for them? So a great business idea does not really sometimes come from the moon. You don't need to go to the moon and come with something strange before you say, oh, I have a creative mind. Sometimes you just need a little tweak of what you already have in the system, a little modification of existing business ideas, and boom, you come up with the game changer. So if you don't assess yourself, if you don't assess yourself critically, you wouldn't know your potential. You wouldn't know exactly what you are capable of doing. So at the end of the day, I think this would be a good one. To the facilitators, we hope strongly that by next week, all of us would have had access to this material. So we would like you to work on this assessment, this questionnaire, and share it back to us. I would like to get your feedback, individual feedback on this material. The feedback is important to me. It's important to you. Yeah, it prepares you ahead of what you likely start up, or it will help you in your existing business if you have already started. But I would also like to, I will be more encouraged if I get a feedback. So I'm sure the facilitators are present and they would certainly get the materials for all of us. So please, I would ask and get your feedback on this assessment on our next session. We'll know how you measure up. It will help you know your strong points, the areas of your strengths, areas of your weaknesses. There's what we call SWOT analysis. So the questionnaire you are seeing is going to help you do a personal SWOT analysis. Your strengths, your weakness, your opportunities and threats. Yes, we apply it to marketing, we apply it to other management areas. But in this case, let's apply the SWOT analysis to ourselves, personality SWOT analysis. It will help you know what are your strengths, which areas. Some of us are very easygoing. We can easily market a product to people. We can easily talk to people to buy into our ideas, to buy into our product, to patronize our services. We are easygoing. It's a strength for us. But that same person, if he's faced with challenges, he easily gives up. So it becomes a weakness. So it is good that you do a SWOT analysis, know where you have your strength. When you know where you have your strength, you know where you have opportunities, you put your energy and your resources in. It can even help you determine what kind of business is best for you to venture into. So personality assessment is very important as an entrepreneur. So that is why I'd like to get your feedback at the end of the day. At the end of the day. So all of us have strengths and weaknesses in our personalities. Some of us are better suited for the demands of starting and owning our own businesses than others. So make a list of your personal strengths and your weaknesses. I'm sure we all got the point. Make a list of your personal strengths and weaknesses. Which personality traits would you like to give? Would you see as an advantage for you in the world of entrepreneurship? And which trait of yours do you think would be a problem for you if you were to start a business? So that at the end of the day, you do not become your own problem. So that you don't become your own problem at the end of the day. You don't become the reason for your own failure. So do the personality assessment and then you'll get your feedback. How can I get started? We'll see a step-by-step process on how to get started with the business. You create a SMART goal. Create a goal for yourself. As a business owner, you should have the goal for starting the business. Your goals must be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So when you are exploring a business idea, you must set goals and objectives for yourself. And there are some characteristics that should define your goals. They should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And while we are discussing these subject matters, it is good that we match we match these concepts or these subjects to whatever business we are running or we are intending to start. So, as an activity, you could write down your goals for your business. This business I am starting, or I've started, or I want to start. What is my goal? There is a short-term goal. There's a long-term goal. What's my short-term goal for this business? That short-term goal that I have for the business, is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it attainable? Sometimes some of us cut our coats not according to our size. When you are setting goals for your business, set realistic, attainable goals. When you set goals that are unrealistic, you may not be able to achieve them. Then you begin to see yourself as a failure. Sometimes you are not a failure. It is because the goals are not set right. If you set the goals right, you will see that the problem is not you not attaining the goals, but you not having the right goals. So set goals that you can achieve, that are realistic, that are time bound, goals you can achieve within a space of time. And then write those goals down for your business that you have started. From time to time, revise, look at, go fall back to your goals. See how far or how well you are attaining those goals. Very important and key. So from time to time, do a review of your goals. If you are sidetracking, sometimes we deviate. We find ourselves unknowingly deviating from our goals. So when you regularly review your goals, you see areas you need to fall back online, go back to the blueprint, retrace or retract your steps, and then sometimes you may entirely need to change the goal. And when you get to the point where you feel that, okay, given the prevailing circumstances in the market or in the industry, it is advisable, it is best that you readjust or you fall back on the goal. So these are things you need to do. Okay, let's at this point in time, let's take some questions. I've been the one doing a lot of the talking. Let's confirm that I have been communicating. I've been talking. I've been getting responses, evidence of communication. But let's confirm that a clear message has been passed. So if you have any question, if there's any area not right, please let's pause a little and take some questions or get clarity if we need to get cleared. If you wish to ask a question, please you could drop it on the chat box. Take note, like we said earlier from the start, we can hardly discuss everything when it comes to entrepreneurship. We'll just try to touch on as much as we can, but we hope that the materials we're going to share will help you. And we're always available for further consultations if you need a more tailored advice, to your personal need. And we are always available back end to assist you. So the material is rich and it is very helpful. So we hope that you would make a time to explore every aspect of the material. Come next week, we are going to look at the business plan. We are going to look at the business plan, and then we'll take very critical aspect of it. So I'm just running through the the material for you to see the quality of content you can go through at a later time. So please, for those who would want to, please ask questions or get clarifications. We would be happy to welcome your questions now. I usually would prefer a verbal feedback, but I don't know why I'm not able to hear what anybody is saying. We certainly would have to we'll try and I'll try and fix that challenge by the next presentation next week, but we want to apologize for that. I usually would enjoy or prefer vocal feedback or communication. Please, we need your feedback, questions, comments, addition, because I also said I would like to learn from you. So if there's any aspect of what we have just discussed that you would like to share with us, your knowledge is also welcome. Okay. So once again, I want to thank all of you for making yourself available for the section. I strongly hope that we have all learned something when it comes to entrepreneurship and business management. We look forward to a more robust uh, conversation next week when we'll be dealing with business planning. In fact, that is the core. If if we are going to start a business and get funding support from anybody, either a private investor or a financial institution, a critical requirement that anybody would expect you to provide in order for them to fund your business is a business plan or a feasibility report. So that is why it is good that every potential or aspiring business owner knows the uh, nitty-gritties of writing a business plan or feasibility study. So that is why we'll take our time, hopefully next week, to really look into that. Some persons make a living with just writing business plans and feasibility studies. So some can do so or have done so for their personal businesses. Some professionally do so for other businesses. But as a business owner, either a practicing business owner or an aspiring business owner, it is good that you are equipped with the knowledge and ability to write a simple feasibility study or business plan. Because usually, as your business grows, it will come to a point where you may need to prepare one for yourself, either for to access funds or to go to get sponsorship or to get funding from investors. Those are usually a regular requirement anybody would ask you to, and you are the best person to make a business plan for your business. People can make a business plan for you. Anybody can write up a business plan for your business, but it is never as good as when you do it for yourself. It is never as when you do it for yourself. That is one thing I must mention when it comes to business plan. You can pay people to do it for you, but then it is not the same as when you do it for yourself. So even when you are forced to have others do it for you, it is good you have the basic knowledge of it. You can review, assess, and then create one for yourself if they need be. So that is why it is good for you to learn that at this point and for us to discuss it. So if there are no questions, hoping that we have all dropped in our attendance and there are no additions, would at this point I will be calling it off for today. Hoping to see all of us next week in continuation of our presentation, but then with a focus on business planning. We hope to see you next week, and then we hope to learn more from ourselves. Thank you very much, one and all. Thank study organizers. We appreciate the platform you've created for such helpful interactions.